Welcome to Divine Decode, where we unravel the hidden layers of modern living and rediscover balance in a hyperconnected world. I'm your host, Pragya, and today we are exploring one of the most pressing paradoxes of our time: how something designed to connect us has quietly begun to consume us. In a world where our mornings begin with notifications and our nights they end with blue light, we're slowly forgetting what stillness feels like. But what if the answer isn't to abandon technology, but to awaken within it? So joining us today is Colin Corby, who is a technologist who turned digital detox coach, who's redefining our relationship with technology through mindfulness, purpose, and awareness, from building digital systems to now helping people break free from their grip. Colin's journey is one of awakening balance and conscious living. So let's dive in and explore the power of conscious disconnection. And first of all, thank you, Colin. Thank you for being on our show. This topic interests me a lot, and I hope it does to our listeners. So thank you for coming up with this, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Colin, you've spent years inside the world of innovation and technology, as I also earlier mentioned. These are the places, where speed and skill, they're really celebrated. Okay. So what was the moment in your life when you realized that technology, while empowering, was also quietly taking something vital from us? Because, for example, if I take my context as a student, ChatGPT is taking away a lot of my critical thinking. That is when I'm realizing, oh, it is quietly taking something very vital from me. So maybe time, presence, or even our sense of self, what led you to this realization, or what was that for you?
So if we go back in time, the first iPhone was introduced in 2007. But I started to notice how much time I was spending on my laptop and mobile somewhere around 2010 to 2012. And the thing that made me notice it was because I had achieved a lifestyle balance between working in very stressful jobs, but also exercising and taking part in endurance sport. And I needed to do that because to counteract and give me better resilience to stress. So when I found myself spending too much time on my laptop and my smartphone, it didn't allow enough time to do those essential things. And I started to think, well, what's going on here? Yes, I know technology is a wonderful thing. I've always worked in technology, but there must be more to it. So I did lots of research, and that led me down the behavioral psychology route, and where if you could put a device in someone's hands and you could get them to carry it around with them 24 hours, or even put it by their bed when they go to sleep, that gives you a great opportunity to nudge and influence their actions. And I thought, well, this is amazing, because I'd already realized the way that we think can change what we can do, and that's through sport. So I'm thinking, well, actually, we're being nicely nudged to do the things that the tech companies want us to do. Of course, they provide great apps, great products anyway. Otherwise, we wouldn't use them. But they encourage us to stay on for longer and to achieve their own aims. And I was just so fascinated by this. I love technology. I still love technology. I love endurance sport and the mindset of an athlete. And I thought, how can I put these things together? So I created the Digital Detox Coach in 2018 to help other people and other professionals achieve a better balance between their technology, which we've all got to use, and the things that they need as biological human beings.
That shift from awareness to action, that is so, so powerful. And thank you for sharing that with us. You have lived in two worlds, okay? So the innovation driven tech space and human centered well being space. I'm sorry if it feels that I'm jumping, but I am actually curious about this when you talked about how your personal insight it became into a movement which led to awakening. So you living in these two worlds, at first glance, they seem like opposites, right? But perhaps they are two sides of the same coin. So how
Uh,
do you reconcile these?
so the first thing you have to understand about technology is that it's the best thing that we can do as humans today. So 10 years ago, technology, if we look back, we wouldn't think that was very impressive. And in 10 years' time, the technology will be even better. But technology is a compromise. It's an approximation. It's a model. So when I speak to you, I know that's not exactly my voice you're going to hear. And when you see a picture of me or an image of me on a video, I know as a technologist that isn't exactly how I look. That's a replication of how I look. So technology does this all the time, and it makes an approximation or model of the real world. And then if we take a look at the real world and nature, and we look at the amazing complexity of the whole world around us, and if we look at the complexity of how we as biological humans fit into that ecosystem, then it's just off the scale compared to technology. So really, as a technologist, I'm able to put technology in its place to say, look, it's fantastic. It's the best thing that we're able to do today. But compared to the real world, it's got hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years to catch up. So realizing that technology isn't as good as the real world just puts it into perspective. So I find it quite easy to balance the two things together.
That is so true, so true. Also, as you said, um, being aware about the two worlds and actually realizing that all of that we see on our screens is not real and it's just a reflection. So thank you for reframing that for us. And I truly believe that too, because, sometimes we are just so concerned about what we see online and we just think of it as something which is real. That just takes us away from our original minds, and that's concerning. But having a balance, that would work. So thank you for that framework. Also, many people they fear that stepping back from the screens it means stepping away from success. Screens are success for them, which is not bad, but that also equals to regression sometimes. You're very regressive about it, that no, I don't want to leave it. So how do you help people see that disconnecting it does not mean losing momentum, but it can actually regain clarity and control in their own lives?
So the misconception here is that if we're busy, we somehow believe that we're being productive and successful. But being busy all the time it's the counterintuitive, but you're not being your best. So what I try and do is reframe and say, well, if you have the mindset of an athlete, what do athletes do? Well, they have to look after their minds and bodies. They have to get enough sleep, eat the right food, take lots of rest and recovery, have lots of connection with other human beings and hopefully with nature as well. They can't race and be at their best all the time. And so if you then put that into the work environment, if you want to show up not as your best, a little bit tired, not performing really as much as you should be able to, then carry on being busy. It's not a problem. You'll muddle through. But if you really want to turn up and be at your best, solve the problems that you really have to solve, achieve the things and goals that you really want to achieve, then you really have to step back and take that mindset of an athlete, a business athlete, and say, well, how am I going to do this? And then you have to work in sync with your own body. Now, we all know if we don't get enough sleep, we're probably going to be rubbish in the morning. So, and that's a simple example. So if you work you very, very late one night and you have to work again the following morning, you certainly won't be at your best. If you don't have enough good nutrition, exactly the same thing. If you don't have enough rest and recovery breaks during the day, then you're not able to regain your focus and attention. So I think where the problem comes is that people imagine themselves like computers with hardware and software. And they forget that actually we're biological animals. And so the brain and the body are just one thing. And that's the amazing thing about humans and all the other life forms on the planet that evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to be incredibly efficient at surviving in this amazing space.
So true, so true. And that also, that this transformation, from realizing that no, you're not the computer, you have to actually chill down a bit. That shows how productivity can actually thrive in mindful stillness sometimes. Also, with AI, with virtual reality and algorithms shaping nearly every part of our daily life, and everybody is a prime example of it. Okay, ChatGPT is literally each and everybody's go-to app right now.
Yeah.
Whatever you have, you just ChatGPT it. Even if you're literally just cooking pasta and you know the recipe, you'll again go to ChatGPT for just a little variation of it. And this is how much you're approaching it. So, do you believe that humanity is truly ready to detox, or are we too deep in the matrix at this point to step out? Because it's literally inbuilt in our nerves at this point.
So the great thing is that we're not too deep to step out. There are two types of detox. There's a digital detox where you physically step away from being online. And that's if you imagine being online as being in a sweet shop and which sells your favorite sweets, you're going to eat your favorite sweets if you're in the sweet shop. Digital detox is about going offline to allow you time to think, to decide what you want to do. So that's the conventional, traditional digital detox. Now we need to AI detox. So an AI detox is something that we have to do when we're online. And the reason why I say we have to do it, we already outsource our knowledge and skills to technology. A good example is SatNavs or Google Maps. They will tell us how to get from A to B, and we'll get there most times, but we won't remember how we got there compared to if we had to use paper maps. We don't have to remember phone numbers because they're actually on our smartphone. So all the time we're outsourcing our knowledge, and that's been happening since the advent of technology doing things for us. The difference with AI is we're outsourcing more and more of our thinking to AI. And so we're not doing those things ourselves. So we all know if we want to know the answer to a question, we can ask ChatGPT. If we're a student and we have a question, we could ask ChatGPT and it will tell us the answer or an answer. It may contain errors, but we may not necessarily know what they are. We don't have to read our own emails anymore. We could ask an AI agent to do that. We could ask an AI agent to write the emails, to summarize the replies, to summarize books. So all of these things are outsourcing things that we used to be able to do ourselves. Now, the problem with outsourcing knowledge and skills is that we're no longer able to do those things ourselves. And so we become very, very dependent on our AI and online technology. And if we don't have daily access to them, then effectively we've become dumber. We're unable to be so creative. We're unable to solve the problems that we once could. We were unable to imagine futures. So if we invest too much time in outsourcing our knowledge and skills to AI, then you have to ask yourself the question, what is the role of humans in the future? Because the AI will be able to do that. So what I tell people is that actually the role of humans is incredibly important. And the one thing that humans can do is we can experience this very, very complicated world. We can connect with lots of other people, animals. We could push science further, and we can imagine futures that haven't happened yet. Whereas at the moment, AI can calculate answers based on the past, based on the information it has. So I would suggest that everybody should start investing in the things that make us human, because that's what's going to make us employable in the next 10, 20, 30 years.
So true, so true. That is a profound take, and that is also a refreshing take, because a lot of people didn't have the same take. And thank you for giving us that perspective, because that actually needs to be out there, because we are just freaking out about it, and a lot of people, they just need to know about it. On a personal level, Colin, what does digital well-being look like for you today? And
so digital well-being, bearing in mind, there's a lovely expression that says we're all in this together. So I use technology for my work and partly for my social activities as well, the same as everybody else. Digital well-being means that I'm in control, more in control of my technology rather than it controlling me. And what do I mean by that? I can choose not to take my smartphone with me everywhere I go. I can choose to be fully present with the person standing next to me instead of being constantly distracted. So it's that constant distraction of being able to control when I want to be on technology and use all the great things that it can do, and when actually there's some other great things that don't require technology and I can be fully present. But it's not something that you can do just by one day deciding it. It's something a bit like becoming an athlete. It's something you have to train to do every day. You have to create new habits, but you have to maintain those habits. So it's a lifetime activity to achieve this balance.
that sure is, that sure is. And if you could actually offer our listeners one small, doable daily ritual to begin reclaiming balance in their digital lives, what would that look like? Anything simple, anything complex, whatever you feel like.
Okay, well, I'm going to offer two simple things, if I may. The first one is that our technology is predominantly visual, and it bombards us with loads of exciting visual stimulation. So if you're at your screens and you can't take a break to move to an offline environment, why not close your eyes for a minute? And by closing your eyes, you cut off all of that visual stimulation. And you'll find that just by doing that for a minute, 2 minutes, will have a calming effect on your body. So that's a very easy thing to do. And then the second thing is a devilishly hard thing to do, and I call it my just one thing challenge. So tell yourself that you're only going to do one thing on your smartphone. Doesn't matter what it is. In England, it might be to check the weather because it's always changing, but you're only allowed to do that one thing on your smartphone. Pick up your smartphone, you check the weather or the one thing you've chosen, and then you're not allowed to check anything else. And that will actually give you a lot of self-awareness about the pull of all those other apps that you have on your phone. The fact that you want to do it, but you're not allowed to because you've told yourself you're only going to do one thing. Don't worry if you don't succeed every time. And maybe even give your smartphone a name so that when you are tempted to break the just one thing challenge, you can say, Fred, you've got the better of me that time, but I'll succeed next time.
That is so sweet. It's so simple and yet so powerful. So again, thank you so much. Also, I have something to add up, that these tiny conscious acts, they help us reclaim our humanity so much. And in this age of constant connection, it's literally the it thing wherein, you can just take up those tiny conscious acts and that would work for you. So what an illuminating journey you've shared with us today, Colin. And just something that I would know from you at last is that on a larger scale, we've talked about technology, we've talked about individuals, we've talked about everything. But on a larger scale, when we look at our leaders in tech education, in government, they plan steering this digital evolution responsibly, with ethics and empathy at core. So what do you think, that what role do they play in this thing? And yeah, what is your take on the government and the larger scale politics about it?
So the investments in digitalization and artificial intelligence, it's an arms race. And so as ordinary people, there's very little we can do. But actually, there's probably very little that governments of individual countries can do. There is a lot of good work being done within the European Union, particularly in terms of trying to protect personal data, trying to protect individual choices, and try to enforce responsibilities onto the tech companies. One of the things that I've noticed is whether the tech companies come from the US or from China, they impose their own cultural standards on the rest of the world if we take their products as is. But every country is slightly different. Every country has different histories, different cultures. So it's really important to try and put as much pressure on our governments as possible. But knowing that it's actually an arms race, the easy win for everybody now seems to be to protect children and to take technology, smartphones out of schools. That movement has gained enormous momentum both in the US, Canada, and Europe and elsewhere. So if we could protect children from the worst harms of technology, then we'll be creating better human beings. Because children learn by doing things, by experiencing things. And if they can experience the world as it really is, rather than just technology, then they stand a chance of being better human beings.
That is so true. And anyways, the children, they are the torch bearers, and they actually need to know what it is to be human. Thank you for that, Colin. And listeners, Colin reminds us that digital detox isn't about rejecting innovation. It's about remembering our intention. And so tonight, as you put your phone down, take a moment to breathe and not just scroll. Because true connection, it does not begin with a signal, it begins with presence. And thank you for joining us on Divine Decode. I'm Pragya Malvia, reminding you to stay curious, stay conscious, and keep decoding the divine within.